and asynchronous kind of teaching and learning that is going on. So those are the hybrid schools that we will go to when schools do reopen. Maybe next month, maybe 2 months from now, or probably 3 months from now. But schools will definitely not be the change, will not be the same, and there'll be a whole lot of change that we will be seeing. The next point is, what exactly is artificial intelligence and what will be the influence? This shouldn't be confused with technology and the various tools that we are using when we are teaching. Artificial intelligence is when the needs and the requirements of the learner is adapted, and you see a lot of adaptive learning taking place, and the requirements are quite well understood. Well, here the anxiety of the teacher is, where is my place when it comes to artificial intelligence? Will I be redundant? Will I have a place in the teaching learning process of the child? And as a teacher, and as many educators, many articles do answer this, and they say that the teacher can never be replaced. There'll be a whole lot of adaptive tools used, but the teacher is there to promote learning, to engage the learner. And that is where artificial intelligence is only going to boost your teaching learning process and never replace the teacher. And my third point is homeschooling. The traditional method of homeschooling was where the learner was only schooled at home with the help of the parent, in touch with a line of tutors often. And though it's not a concept that is very common in metropolitan cities in India, homeschooling now, post COVID, is something that will definitely change. It will be not optional, but it will be a kind of learning that it will be a partnership with the school and home. It will be a partnership that will be forged with the home, in a conscious effort with the school. So it would probably mean that the student will not be required to get to school or be in, the concrete structure 5 days a week, but it will be something where he would get into the brick and mortar structure of the school for um, for special activities, probably the physical activities. Also, it is said that the national aim of education in India is the holistic development of the child. And for that reason, the physical, the vocational development, even the hands-on learning and the application-based learning would need to take place on a face-to-face basis, and that is when the student would be required to get to the physical structure of the school. The other few days, the child will continue learning online along with the teacher. Now, the new normal out here is the fears of the teacher. How important would the teacher be here? Would the teacher be redundant? Would this mean um, the number of teachers being truncated in school, the importance of the teacher in the education system? And according to me, the teacher, like I said before, the teacher cannot be replaced. With all these tools, there has been a large awakening in the education, a large awakening in the teacher, to boost up his or her learning. And the teacher is there to facilitate learning. The teacher is there to develop the kind of thinking and the thinking strategies and the development, and all these other artificial intelligence are will be there to only empower the learning, empower the entire learning process and the student at large. So, if you would ask me, I would say that despite all the fears, um, there are a lot of benefits that we would see. In fact, it has also been noticed that with this online learning, there has been a higher retention rate in the entire learning process. In fact, the teaching time has also been reduced, and there has been a lot of focused learning that has taken place. So for me, the new normal in learning is something that I'm looking forward to, because there's a lot of engaged and active learning. Um, Probably the next speakers would throw a little more light into how there can be a lot of mentoring, how there can be a lot of adaptation. Yeah. Thank you.
That was great. That was really lovely to have heard about AI and homeschooling. This was really an eye-opener. And can we now invite
Sheila,
Sonam,
Sheila, is
please?
it possible to question Florina here?
Nawaz, we are coming to a discussion at the end of the fight.
No, I just wanted to ask her a
Yes.
question that when she was talking about this adaptation, obviously she was referring to urban schools, her school, a
Yes.
very, very small margin of schools. When you talk about online, first of all, right now, how many schools are on online learning? Okay, that is a big issue when we
Yes.
talk about getting. And secondly, the Zoom fatigue that is already setting in within 3 months. I'm seeing problems from children who cannot hang on for the whole day just watching the screen. And those are very, very small things. Of course, the adaptation has to come, but I'm finding it very difficult to understand how it's going to happen in India, in Mumbai, which is such a cosmopolitan city, and the rest of India, forget it. So that is my question.
Yes.
Right. So, obviously, when we're talking about online schools, we look at it as an advantage that many of the BMC schools would not have. But yet, that is something that would need to be followed. I mean, if you do remember the idea advertisement that was about 10 years ago. Teaching can happen just with a mobile. You do not need all the advanced tools. There's a lot of flip learning that is also going on. And teachers just need to adapt to the change. Flip learning is something that can, you don't need heavy gadgets. You just need to be very creative when you are adapting to flip learning, where the student does a little learning and the teacher is there to conduct a discussion. So in that sense, everybody, because today the mobile is an essential gadget that everyone has with them. So just with that one gadget, I mean, online learning can take place, whether you have Zoom or not. Just log on to a particular site, read something, probably log on to a video, and there can be a whole lot of learning. So, I mean, drawbacks are there, connectivity issues are there, but they can be easily solved, especially in a city, metropolitan city like Mumbai. It can be easily done because schools, the physical space in schools, there's a lot of crunch, and it would be very difficult to start physically reopening a school. And if we were to say that we get in school students in batches, it would affect definitely the teacher, because it would mean that the teacher has to conduct a particular lesson for her class 3 times because of the size of the class. So online learning is definitely something that would be required. Especially, I'm talking about Maharashtra, that stands in India as the worst affected. Physical reopening of schools will take a very, very long time, but
Yeah,
learning
so
cannot stop.
yeah, so
Yeah.
thanks,
And
thanks,
when I say
thanks.
learning, I am not only referring to a curriculum. Learning is vast.
Yeah, thanks, Florina. And I think yes, it's a very valid point that you bring about. I think the most important aspect is we are all going through this phase of the new normal, and as we are calling it globally as living with the coronavirus phase. So it's important that this aspect of adaptability starts coming in, and there's also a very important aspect which we all need to understand. While we may think that it's a temporary phase that we are all going through, it is the new permanent for us. So how effectively and how quickly can we get from the temporary, convert the temporary to a permanent is important for us. I'll give a small little example of how the transformation of the country happened uh, when we went into a phased, uh, you know, revolution of the information technology. Smartphone is one great example. I still remember when we would not be able to understand what a smartphone is, and today, right from a security guard,
Video officer.
sorry, right from security guard to anybody and everybody, we are all on smartphones. So I think this adaptation will require to be done. And yes, your point, Nawaz, is about fatigue. Yes, it's a very valid point. But then I think that's where adaptation and
The boards and the boards and the boards. You see, we all belong to boards. So when you talk about education as the new norm and the new normal, how many ICSE and SCSE schools are going to SSC schools are going to start that? Some of them can, some of them can't. What happens to those students or schools who can't? Can they give their exam? There are so many questions over here.
Yes, Nawaz, we have Vidya on board with us. She will speak after Sonam. She will be able
No,
to.
we can
talk
argue
more
about that after. You please
BMC
continue.
and
You,
what's happening. Yeah, of course. No, but Vidya is then she's excellent at this. We'll come to that. So, can
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
shall I
you want-
start?
yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and I'm really proud to be a part of such a rich channel. Thanks to Ela and Colonel Jitendra for including me in this panel. I am not having a presentation with me, but I certainly hope to do a good job. Although my days have been full of 11 weeks of online learning, it is overwhelming for teachers, parents, and children, hands down. That we have to agree. It is difficult. Children are joining, cannot join. Parents are trying. There is a lot of equity and equality going on there at work, which is behind the scenes. These are challenging times. Yes, they are challenging, but you always would believe that challenges are the times when we have opportunities, and we have opportunities to learn more, to innovate, to create something more. As teachers, I tell you, in my 15 years or more of teaching in the primary years, our day begins with a high five, and I know all the primary teachers will agree with that. Now, how to teach those 4 to 10 years old children social distancing is the biggest question. You have to change their way they think. It's spontaneous for them to go and hug a friend, to say high five to the teacher. So yes, there are going to be changes, but we have to adapt. We have to be ready. So I'm just going to switch over quickly to, the issues are always there, adapting to new technology, new collaborative tools, and there will be internet issues. Online learning has to take place alongside with the physical learning. Yes, I belong to right now in Gurugram, so I agree Maharashtra right now is suffering, very rightly pointed out by Florina, a little more than us, but we never know. We never know. So the day, when we open, we are planning to open up in 6th of July. I don't know what is going to happen, but why we need to open up, all of us being educators will agree that there has to be an ecosystem for learning, a conducive environment, which when not in place, learning happens, but I'm not very sure how effective it is, to be honest. Next, these long periods of isolations at home for children. I will call it isolations because they are not able to meet their buddies, their chaddi buddies. Somebody has a bread buddy, somebody has a tiffin buddy, somebody has a bus buddy. These are emotional requirements of the children. So, they have to have that connect, that physical connect has to be there. But how? That you are there physically, not touching each other, being at a distance and yet, being together. So these are the norms which we need as a school to find out what are the solutions. How are we opening is my next. Why was the first one? Why do we need to open? Because for a conducive learning to happen, we have to have that ecosystem. Maybe we open, how do we open is like, maybe full swing, very difficult. Even those buildings in Delhi and NCR regions are big, but classrooms, to be honest, cannot make way for social distancing. So it's difficult. So it may be staggered. How do we open up? It can be, in shifts. Maybe half of the people come one day and the next half comes on the other day, that way. Or maybe, we can have half of them who are sitting at home go on virtual streaming of online classes going on, so that it is not a pain for the teacher to conduct the same class again. Also, these lessons can be recorded. There are options on Teams to record your lesson. They can go back to the lesson, revisit the concept, contact the teacher. With this 11 weeks of learning, which happened in my school, we were there with the children on Zoom, on Teams. We were there on a WhatsApp. We were there on mobile. Our job was not 9 to 4. It was much more than that. But trust me, when they say that the odds are there, everybody wants to make it happen. There have been parents who have been pitching in, have been taking so much of interest, and effective learning has taken place. I, as a teacher, can see the difference, because at times as a parent, you may not be able to give that much of quality time to your child. Now was the time when you were able to give that child that quality time, and you could sit and engage in a thoughtful learning and teaching taking place. What was the feedback pointed out that then and there with the parent, to the parent by the teacher, gives them an instant. You are doing your formatives instantly. Do a calculation in the chat box. Show me the answer. Message me on WhatsApp. There are many ways to adopt it if you want to make it happen. Being mindful, being open-minded, being a risk taker. Trust me, I'm no person who was very conversant with IT. And today, if you ask me, I can try my level best. Still, there are challenges. I would deny that. But you have to try. The passion has to get there to the parent and the child, who knows that yes, she or he is not going to leave me alone in this battle. Okay, coming back to, if the school is planning to open, how it is open. So, we'll take the middle path, assuming that we are going to have a staggered, joining in of students. One set joins in physically, and one set joins in through the virtual medium. Okay, what are the steps to be taken? Big job for schools: sanitization of the whole school, furniture, common areas, toilets, training of the grade 4 people who are going to be there for the children, because I'm talking of primary years. We all require grade 4 employees with us who need to be sensitized to the effect that, they know what they're doing, and they should not go out of their way to do something, because that is not the new normal. Seating arrangements in classes have to take place. Staggered breaks for lunch. You cannot have the whole school having a lunchtime at the same time. If there is a process of eating together in the cafeteria, which is followed in our school, the seating has to be conducive to ensure that, there is that distance of 2 meters maintained at all points of time. So either the things are served to them and they are seated facing one ways. They cannot sit opposite each other. So these kind of things have to be worked. Transport facility. At any point of time, if a child is getting inside the bus, our first method should be check the temperature. If the child is having a cough or a cold, should miss school. He can go for the virtual classes. Yes. There should be a parent at the bus stop, so that if the child is not allowed inside the, the transport, the school transport, he can go back. Yes. Then this, sanitizers should be easily available in all classes, corridors, at all vantage points, so that any point of time they require it, it is there. Teachers should ideally be a role model, as we all are in primary or otherwise also, you have to be on the check all the time. So they should be the ones to demonstrate how to wash the hand. Now, when to wash the hand: sneezing, coughing, eating before or afterwards, visiting the washrooms. So who will monitor? There has to be a lot of alertness, mindfulness on the point of the teacher. She has to become actually into the role of a mother at all times. And if I'm sorry to say, I don't think the span of attention for children is much. For human beings as such is also less. So if a teacher is given more than 15 students to take care of, I don't think she would be able, or she would be able to take care of that. We need to look into those things. Sanitization processes for all teachers, all children and caregivers should be done in the morning. What if a child falls ill in the school during the hours? In the morning, he was all right, she was all right, and needs to be immediately taken care of. So there should be an isolation place for that. There should be somebody who is trained enough, the first aid, the nurse should be there at all points of time to take care of those things. Of course, if there is need be, the child can be shifted to the, a parent can be called and the child needs to be shifted to some better hospital, or a care is required, that can be done later. Ideally, movement in the corridors would cause a problem. So suggestion is that the teachers of all single subjects move to the class and the children remain in the class itself. Again, a problem, because being a child, you don't want to be stuck to your chair all the time. So we really don't know how we are going to do it, but that is one of the methods to do it. In case, there's single subject teachers, they use a lot of common instruments for sports, for music, for dance. So these things have to be sanitized regularly. PE, how many children are going onto the field? What is the social distancing? These kind of things are also there, need to be, there in place before opening the school. Also, the whole plan should be shared very transparently with the parent community. So only if a parent, we all are parents, we all think our child is precious, and so do they. They're not wrong. The concerns are real. So we need to be very transparent about our game plan. How are we going to do it, and why are we going to do it? And please share it with the, give them confidence, so they are confident enough to send their child to you. And your children should be, teachers should lead them by example in the class, maintain social distancing. Notebooks is another area which I would like to refer to. If a child has done the work, let the notebook be on his or her table. The teacher can correct the notebook 3 or 4 hours after the child has done his work. I don't know how it will work for other subjects, but at least we can try. Maybe one notebook for all subjects. I'm just talking about primary. I don't know about the seniors, because it's going to be difficult. Discipline is again being principled, and discipline is again a subject we need to really make them understand that why it is important for you and your safety to be, maintaining this personal hygiene, your well-being, your exercising, your looking into more responsible ways of doing things. In the end, I would have, all is not lost. Everybody needs to gear up. There have been challenges, there will be challenges in life, and change is the only constant in life. So we need to imbibe, adapt, and swim with the tide. We need to build our immunity. We need to exercise more. We need to be on a good diet. We can fight it off. We need not fear, as in, what is going to happen. For all we know, we might have even come across it and contacted it, and, we might not have showed the symptoms, sorry. So we have to, go back to probably our age-old traditions, wherein we used to leave the shoes outside the house, wash our hands more often than we do nowadays, take care of more of personal hygiene, wash the things coming outside of from the house to inside the house, like veggies, foods. Now we are doing it out of fear, but we need to lead by example so that it is imbibed in these children for their future ahead. With this, I would like to rest my case. Thank you so much.
That's
Thank you,
rightly said. And yes, we need to be fearful of the COVID-19 virus, but not to the extent of, disturbing our mental balance. is my piece over here. Well, now I invite Vidya with us, and Vidya is going to tell us about what she is doing with Parisar Asha and otherwise. Yes, Vidya, you're on.
Yeah, hi. It was not. It was nice hearing your point of view, Sonam. I quite agree with what you say. I am not a teacher as such in schools, but I am a qualified teacher. I left the teaching profession and joined Parisarasha NGO to help schools teach their children better. So just a small correction over here. All BMC schools, state board schools are not BMC. So BMC comes under separate jurisdiction. So we have other state board schools which are aided and which are non-aided. Okay, so I go to many schools and I panning the length and breadth of Mumbai as a mentor. So these schools take our learning materials, and Parisar Asha is an NGO which was founded by Gloria D'Souza 37 years ago. And now we are actually branching out into many, many more schools and making our presence felt. So essentially what we do is we give them learning materials, and as a mentor, I go and help them with the pedagogy that we believe in, which is experiential learning. Now that kind of learning is not happening in our state board schools. So I am a state board student myself, but my teachers were much, much better, and they used different innovative ways to teach us. So, but that's not the case now. So, okay, that is about Parisar Asha. So we've had series of meetings with principals, the CEO and I, and the concerns are the same. When do we open the school? Now it's okay for the politicians and the department to just issue a statement over TV saying that June 15th we will open the schools. And like Sonam pointed out, I think we'll need 15-20 days only to train the school personnel of how to conduct themselves during this time before actually calling the students in the school. So there's no question of calling the schools now. But then again, we are talking about a section of people, a large section of people in our society who are just about in the lower middle class range. Okay, their earnings are just about that much, and both parents have to go to work. They absolutely have to go to work. Now, this post-lockdown, I wouldn't say post-COVID. We are still not post-COVID. We are not qualified to say post-COVID yet because we really don't know when it's going to go. So post-lockdown is, when are these people going to start working? How is your income going to flow in? Okay, they're not able to pay the fee for this coming year because these people, live month by month based on their salary is how they live. So if the parents don't go to work, how will the children go to school? Who's going to take care of these children? And then most of the schools that I go to, the parents are just helpers in homes and they have very small jobs. So they are happy that the children are in school so that there is no tension for them. And after leaving school, they go straight to the tuition class. So again, the mother is not worried. She comes home by evening, the child is home with the mother. So now when does the mother go to work and when does the child go to school? That's really worrisome. That's really worrisome. So either once the lockdown opens, how are they going to take care of the children? There's so many things to think about. I am kind of very sympathetic towards the parents because most of these parents, they cannot afford higher education. They cannot afford education offered by ICSE or IGCSE or whatever. They do not have access to any computer at home. They have a mobile, and many of them don't even recharge their mobiles. They just put the little amount, which is not enough to support any kind of plan. So what kind of online teaching is going to happen over here? So why, again, coming to why should we open schools? Sonam, I agree with you that children need an emotional connect with their peers, with their friends, which is very, very important. Traveling in a bus, it has its own experience. Going on the scooter with the dad to school is another experience. The mother dragging you to school is another experience. But then there is no school. Okay, so Why, whether we should open school at all for the primary? I will say that primary should not be touched at all. They should be just at home, and teachers should maybe just make a small curriculum for them just to support them for up to Diwali. And then you can call them to school and have a different curriculum for them for the other part of the year. So this year is going to be only about skills development. It's not going to be about subject learning. So the most of the students are children of that class of people who have gone away to their villages. And these students are learning different types of skills in the villages. So we have pictures and photographs which showed children helping their uncles and their grandfathers in the village, in the fields, milking cows or plucking, flowers or plucking all the vegetables from the field. These are skills which students will not learn if they are in the cities. Then about, if you really ask me why, I would not really support the why for the primary, but yes, for the secondary, the teachers of the state board schools have already geared up. The first week of June, they're going to be, start online classes. But then the teachers are also not equipped with online teaching. So where have we fallen short? Our government has fallen short in training teachers to live up to the present generation, present times. Everybody has access to internet on the mobile, but WhatsApp is the only thing that they use. I know teachers who cannot even navigate themselves to WhatsApp video call. So what kind of online teaching are they going to do? So the online teaching we have started, we are actually conducting Zoom sessions to help teachers teach. So you won't believe it. That's what's happening. So teachers are asking us, can you just conduct a small workshop for us so that we know how to screen share, we know where to click, we know how to mute. Okay, many of them don't know yet, but they'll get there. So online teaching is, if schools are saying that they're doing it only in a very small manner. Not like the ICSE schools where June 3rd, I believe they're supposed to report to the schools and the teachers will teach from the classrooms, but the children will be at home. So how much learning is going to happen at home, how much fatigue, like Nawaz pointed out, the screen fatigue that the children are going to go through it's really a matter of concern. Most of my work is on Zoom nowadays. It really tires me also. It's really going to tire out the child. So are we going to find any other way out of this? I mean, if there is some visionary out there, some educationist out there who's going to find out something different, then please lay it out for the teachers and for the students. Teachers are also affected. Many of the teachers of the state board schools are not being paid because there is no fee. There is no fee coming in. And the government has told the parents not to pay the fee. So there is no respect for the teaching fraternity. Okay, we need teachers today. I mean, we need them online, we need them in classroom. So when are you going to pay the teachers? How is the teacher going to upgrade her mobile? I mean, if she doesn't have a pay. So that's the state in state board schools. Then there are various discussions like whether there should be a school bus at all for these students, and how will students come who are staying far away, if not the school bus. Again, the school bus needs to be sanitized every day. How much of cost is going to be incurred in all those things? Sanitizers, the sprayers, the gloves, the masks. So the school will have to distribute all this and make sure that the parents come with masks and gloves. But how long? How long do you expect students to sit in the classroom with the masks? It's not healthy. Okay, you can't make the latest study says that you shouldn't be wearing the mask for too long. So it's really going to affect the child, and the child is eventually going to pull it down, okay, and scratch his face. How are you going to stop the child from doing that? Yes. So these are these typical worries, and I perfectly agree. So these are the things, and even if you see the advanced countries, they don't much prefer online teaching. They too prefer face-to-face one-on-one teaching, which is what is required for students. So right now everybody's on Zoom, so everything is happening on Zoom. And
I think this technology is available only to the affluent.
It is to the affluent, and now they're doing it on the everybody. There are 2-3 schools where they're really going after the parents and telling them, download the Zoom and we can start your workshops on Zoom. So parents are doing it, but there's just a small screen. A mobile, you can see only 4 people at a time. You can't see many more. And then there is that blanking out, and then they're coming back again. So those disturbances are there. You are admitting and they're not joining, and there are so many things happening. So there's a lot of distraction on online teaching.
That's right. That's
so and somehow the teacher comes out as a teacher in online teaching, and she cannot stop herself from being the way she is because she knows her students very well. And then you have the parents listening on you. So that's the kind of a thing that is worrisome. There is a bond between teachers and students which is there only in the classroom. You cannot connect to them the way you connect at home.
Yes.
Right now. We conduct workshops for teachers on Zoom, and we don't have that kind of connect because we do so many things on activity based, even for teachers. We're not able to do it. I mean, it's just a slide over there and there's no connect or getting them to do activities. So that is one thing. So again, like I said, schools don't have money. So how are they going to manage all these things? Sanitizers, like Sonam referred to. I really don't know where they're going to get the money from. And is the government really going to give them money? It's a big question. Are you going to give them money? Then you open the school. Yeah. So make sure that everything is there at every school. Take accountability of your school. It's your state. They are your children. You take accountability and you open up your coffers. We know you have enough money. So you open it up and you hand it over to schools. And tell them, look, this is what we're giving you. You start. So yeah, I hope.
Thank you so much, Vidya. That was really an eye-opener. And I think we have to have one more session on the same topic.
Yeah.
We have so much to share over here. Can I quickly invite Sukhmani on board now? Sukhmani has taught in NCERT. Yes, Sukhmani.
Hello, everyone. Firstly, I really want to appreciate Vidya ma'am that, the points that you've said are very logical. Coming on to the fact, I'm just going to first start discussing as to what our schools were doing. Because normally what happens is when the admission time is there in January and February, every school wants more and more admissions. So this time, the state here in Ganganagar, the city decided, let's not get into competition and let's get into some kind of a collaboration. Now, how this helps is, firstly, like what ma'am was saying, people are not giving fees and everything. Now, schools don't have that much of money. So what happens is we decided that everybody is going to think that which is the best way to teach the students. So one of them started, okay, we started with Zoom. But then the problem is that the Zoom class has a specific time period of just about 40 minutes. Then they came to know that, okay, let's start something else. Somebody started with Google. Then somebody started with Hangouts. And not saying this is only for the elite class. There's another very big issue that comes. Imagine you have 2 children in the same school. How do you time the thing? So what they decided was that the senior classes are going to have their classes in the morning sessions from 7:30 to 12:30, because let's face it, everybody doesn't have two laptops. Everybody doesn't have mobiles in the sense that 2 students can come together. So these were certain things that these schools were doing. And I will again say it is only for the upper class. Like what Vidya ma'am was saying, I have one of my friends who's working in a government school who has just 20 students. And it's absolutely right. Many of them don't even know how to open a WhatsApp thing. So for them, what they did was they decided, okay, we'll have holidays. And because this was the thing, maybe 10 students will have a WhatsApp. Their parents are not educated enough to make sure that how to download that video, what YouTube thing to go. So what I feel it, what we are discussing here is only about those parents who can actually afford to send children to good schools and which they can actually afford in the sense that those laptops and everything. Now coming on to certain things that our schools had made. Firstly, we started a system that was called, digital quarantine. Because parents started cribbing that the students are so much on the mobile. And I will say that there are times when students will get offline and the mother will think that the child is on the phone. So they said that you have to keep an eye on the child. And we started sending the timetable because we have a WhatsApp group. So, from this time to this time is science. And I'm talking about only senior classes. I'm talking about 10th, 11th, and 12th because they are more naughty. So we started sending them that in order to make it secure. That, okay, this is your time slot for science, this is your for physics, this is for chemistry, so that so on and so forth. So we have those 3 hours of studies. That was one thing. Another thing that they said is, don't let your, and I'm talking about senior classes, don't let your children treat this as a vacation. Let's face it, we are going to have board examinations. And we will definitely have in the month of, maybe not in March, but in April. Now, coming on to the CBSE point, what the CBSE has said and what the latest letter says is that because the schools are facing so much of a problem, the senior teachers wrote that, is there a possibility that we reduce the syllabus? Now, even the reducing of the syllabus has to come at a time wherein you can't reduce or cut or omit the first chapter when the child is already done. So the teachers are saying, give us a timeline that by this time you will reduce the syllabus, and so on and so forth. The child doesn't have to study that chapter. So what are they doing? They said, okay. So what I've come to know that within a week's time, NCERT is setting up a meeting, and that will be at par with whether it is an ICSE school or a CBSE school, wherein they will give a streamlined guideline because they want everybody to be on the same platform. Now, syllabus can be different, but what needs to be omitted, how much needs to be omitted, maybe a paper which will have more of your multiple choice questions instead of a subjective. So how does it help? It helps that if on an online class, and let's face it, all 5 fingers are not same, there will be students who would be able to grasp very fast from that YouTube. But there will be a weak child who would always go for tuitions after that, and he or she is not able to cope up. So for those students, like last time what had happened in 10th class, they made 2 sets of maths. I'm sure you all are aware of it. So what they happened was, if a student who does not want to take maths in the 11th class, like somebody like me who wants to take arts and is just not interested in taking maths, so they take a maths question paper of a basic. And the only hitch to that is you cannot opt maths in 11th. And the other student can take a standard. And we had it this year. And somehow everybody said that the basic paper was very, very simple as compared to the standard paper. Now, in this case, what they are saying is that they are going to make papers which will have more of multiple choice questions, less of subjective questions. And like I said, the time frame from March may be April, but that cannot go beyond April because then all the entrance exams get disturbed. But another thing to it, I would say a negative part for this is, like I was discussing with Ela ma'am yesterday, it is quite possible that the chapters that are omitted, those chapters might come in your entrance exam. So for the time being, you can think of omitting it, okay? But maybe in times to come, you will have to study them.
Yeah.
But now the priority for most of the parents are, and which parents are facing, maybe not in Maharashtra, but here in Ganganagar and all, students go to quota and they take as dummy students. Now, many student parents have already submitted fees of 1 lakh plus and 2 lakh plus. Now, they say that what they have done is, for whatever 11th teaching they have done is okay, but for the 12th, that dummy system, which I'm not in favor of, is kind of coming down because they feel that now they need to connect to a school. Because any coaching institute in senior classes at this point of time, because it is so, they are so money minded that they are not working on that. So this is one part.
Right.
Another part is about what Sonam ma'am was saying and what Vidya ma'am was saying was, every school has been told to make certain guidelines as to what they should do and how they should go about it. And I totally agree with Vidya ma'am, and I think I'm going to be telling this point in the next meeting, that before we call the students, though teachers are being called because CBSE evaluation has started. So we were called back for the evaluation, but again, social distancing and everything. But teachers need to be more proactive, and students below 10 years will not be called. because for them to come and hug and to tell them also to wear your mask, like what Vidya ma'am was saying, to keep on the mask is very difficult. And parents are very apprehensive. So below 10 years will not be called. That is till
Right. So
class 5.
many, I think, paucity of time. We're waiting for Raymond
Yes,
to
ma'am.
come
I'll
on
just
board.
wrap it up.
Thank you.
The last thing that I want to say is that 30% of attendance will be called. There are two options given to school. One is either you call them alternate roll numbers or you have a morning and an evening shift. So this is how things are going to start. And let's keep our fingers crossed. I can only give all my good wishes to parents who are giving their 10th and 12th boards. But like we were discussing, I'm sure this time the board papers are going to be simple and they're going to get good marks. So thank you so much.
On that
Thank
positive
you.
note,
Thank you
I
so
will
much.
quickly invite Raymond Fernandez.
Hi, Iti.
Raymond, come. You're on.
Yeah, hi.
Wow, that's lovely.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful screen.
So this is, it is so difficult to actually follow up when such stalwarts speak, you see, and such questions. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you
yes.
loud and clear.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We've gone from fear to hope, from ecosystems to reskilling. We've got so many questions across educators, and to be honest with you, I'm one of them. I don't have answers, right? Education in itself was so constrained and conformed to a certain point in time that we just don't know how to work with more constraints. How will they get in? Who will ensure that they'll get sanitized, etc. and etc. But as Winston Churchill said, we should never waste a good crisis. There are a lot of thoughts that have been shared out here and globally. And we've been on seminars and webinars and listening to a lot of people. And we know that there is hope in the anvil, but we need to figure out what works for us. Nawaz asked some very strong and pertinent questions to you, Nawaz. I think there is no one size fits all in education. And somehow I think this pandemic, I wish there was a better time for it, but has leveled the playing field in certain sense. Scott Galloway, in one of his interviews in the US, said these times have worked as an accelerant. Education was just not moving. And for it to move and rethink and reinvent itself, I think maybe something like this, unfortunately so, but was to a certain extent necessary. And therefore, these big questions that have been plaguing us all throughout, and I've chosen a few to ask right now, right? We are talking about who should come to school, who should not be coming to school. How can we truncate some subjects and how can we not truncate some syllabi? Education, schooling, what's the difference? Do we need to get to school to be educated, or can education be given outside of schools? Does education happen only in school? And say online, offline, as all of you have realized, the fatigue is setting in, right? The romance is really dying out. Teachers are no longer feeling really happy to teach online. There is no difference. They're teaching exactly the same way they were teaching in class as they are teaching online. As Ms. Vidya said, they're being made out now. Parents are watching from behind the curtain, figuratively speaking. The next question that really opened up out here for a student is, if you think when you're teaching, do you really know that I'm learning? Isn't that a question that is there even in conventional schooling? It is only becoming more pronounced right now because of the perils of online lesson, because it is exposing ourselves bare. And do we really need a teacher to learn? Are huge questions that this entire time has thrown at us. We need to ask ourselves this question, because in our journey of rediscovery, these will be very, very important aspects of knowing what we need to do and how we need to move forward. Now, my take about schooling. Schooling for me has always been about a lot of ease. It has always been about effort that the teacher puts in to make sure that a class is always very good. It is the effort that the child puts in to get a good score. It has also been about excellence. That the teacher wants to be the best teacher in school and the most sought after or the most loved, and the child wants to get good scores. But more importantly, schooling has always been about experience. The same experience that Sukmani was talking, the same experience that Sonam was talking, the same experience that Florina was talking. Riding on a motorcycle on the back with your father driving you to school is an experience. Sharing a tiffin in the school bus is an experience. Hiding away from the teachers and doing what you need to do and the teachers not watching you is experience. And those experiences together constitute learning. The biggest E, unfortunately, that we've always forgotten about schooling is empathy. So schooling teaches you to put yourself in another person's shoes and live their life and help them. And those are the biggest learnings, and that is why I strongly advocate that schools should open. But for schools to be open, we need to be prepared. And make no mistake, the playing fields, I'm sorry, there's work around, so I'll have to stop whenever there's a drill happening in my neighbor's house though.
That's all right. That's all right. Okay.
The pandemic, my dear friends, has leveled the playing field. There is no rich and there is no poor. If you look at it from a larger perspective, everybody will have to reinvent. Everybody will have to work something out that fits them. And once again, to answer most of the questions, there cannot be a one size fits all. There cannot be a common blanket, if you'll agree with me, Ms. Vidya, that works for all schools in all geographies. We have to tailor make it, has to be bespoke. Education, in its true sense, was always an individualized experience. Education was never supposed to conform to a brick and mortar school. These times have opened it out for us to say, let education go all over the place. Let all of us be party to and be experienced of any and every kind of education. And it's really interesting. So preparedness is very important. And I therefore see the new normal will have to have an extremely broad overview. My understanding of education has the 4 C's. And these are the ones that I have coined. One is content, which as teachers, we keep it so close to heart, and we feel we are the repository of content. These times have taught us that content can be acquired from anyone and from anywhere. You don't need a teacher to deliver content. Then came the next big thing about teachers to say, oh my God, without concepts, without me, you can't teach concepts. Technology taught us that concepts can also be taught with adaptive learning, like how Florina has said it, with the fear of saying, I'm going to get redundant, because artificial intelligence can tell you if you're progressing or not. The most important next aspect of education, critical thinking, and the one that is always forgotten, communication, are the biggest and the strongest pillars of education, which if educators of modern times remember this, they will know that this is what is going to get the students back into school. The way you can possibly transact a class to say you do a lot of flipped learning and give them content to study, but the right questions to ask, to prod them in the right direction. This is the time for us to be guides by the side. This is the time for them to say, okay, fine, if it's in your mother tongue, speak and tell me what you understand about this problem, so I can help you solve it, or you can help me solve it. It is time for us to flip and become learners and students telling us what to do. Also is about the 3 T's. It is about how you're going to transact the new age curriculum. It is about the tools that you're going to use, and it is about togetherness. And I'll explain each of these in the time that I have. Transacting on the curriculum, we've all spoken, get a few students in, get a few students out. We'll do a hybrid, we'll do online and offline, and there are speculations galore. Scott Galloway also said that in the last 40 years in America, education fees have increased by 114%, even higher than the healthcare sector. But what hasn't changed in 40 years is the way we transact education. Maybe these new times will tell us exactly what we need to do. Maybe a child who can afford a small smartphone will receive the same good quality education if we pool in our resources as a person who drives in a Mercedes and comes to school because he has an entire gamut of tools at his disposal. The tools that we use will be very important. Are they a one size fits all? I don't think so. Each segment, each sector, and believe you me, even the government schools, even the schools which are state board run, are thinking of leveraging on technology. But what I want us to focus on is togetherness. And that is something that you have to be extremely mindful, because without this partnership, whatever we are going to do moving forward will not work at all. We have looked at school being a silo. We've looked at home being a silo. We've looked at a student living in a silo. But we've not realized that teaching may be happening in school, learning happens at home. Parents are an integral partner in the teaching, learning, and education process. But we, or they, or all of us have reduced them to mere channels of just giving in information. How do we get them to becoming partners with us is going to be the biggest challenge. And if we can fight this challenge, and I can tell you with a lot of conviction, we will be able to weather this storm. Now, how do we get them to become partners? It is not very easy, because a parent of a grade 10 child needs to be looked at a partner very differently as compared to a parent of a nursery child. If I look at this nursery, our intervention is to get the parent to be the student and partner us in the teaching and learning at home, right? In the higher grades, you just need to tell the parent maybe how the child is progressing and how you need to help you monitor his growth, because you are leading the path for him. What is really important, and this is what we've been discussing in all our schools, is in our path to move forward and in our endeavor to reopen schools, two very important aspects must be taken into consideration and never ever forgotten. Collaboration, which is extremely important across everybody, and communication. Speak to people, tell them what you're thinking, tell them what you want to do, get them on board, make them partners in the journey moving forward. And I think we will weather this storm. If you ask me, do I have all the answers? Absolutely not. I do not have none. Am I seeking? Of course I am. But the good thing about the teaching fraternity, and something that was missing for a very, very long time, is now we are all coming together. We are no longer cloistered and holding all whatever we've done very close-chested. We are sharing, we are opening up. And from our grief and from our challenges and from our turmoil, we are coming up with answers for one another. And I think that is the most positive that we can take from this situation. I'm a teacher and I can go on and on where this topic is concerned, but I would love to stop out here with a question to all of you. Are we ready for this new normal? Are we ready to collaborate? And are we ready to talk to one another? Thank you very much, Ela. Thank you very much, Colonel Sharma, for having me out here.
Thank you so much.
I think it is possible to have these discussions.
Thank you so much, Raymond. This was beautiful and an eye-opener. And yes, partnering between the school, student, and the home, the parents. This is really, really important. Thank you very much. Even though we overshot, but it was worth every second that you spoke. Over to you.
So I think it's been a great discussion. Kudos to all the speakers. All of you are stalwarts within the schooling fraternity as well as the ecosystem. I think in summary, points around artificial intelligence, how it can be, it can transform the field of education in the changing times. Fear about teachers feeling whether they're going to be redundant. Adaptive learning was another point which came in. Collaborative tools, physical learning, will it stay? Will it not? Training of staff is highly critical to ensure that the schools reopen and then continue to sustain the change that we all have to go through. Disparity between the stratas of the society. So while one group spoke today about, some speakers spoke about, the government schools, and the other one was, we talking about the IB schools. So there is a kind of a disparity, and how can we balance that out? I think that's key to this particular new normal that's coming in, and I'm sure the think tanks would be, scratching their brains and putting their thinking caps around this. Time for skills development, uh, very pertinent point. Would you want to get the students, the children to do a skill development, or do you want them to go through the complete road system that we have as part of teaching? Digital quarantine, another very important aspect which requires more thinking. Not a vacation, yes. Uh, I think we all have to understand we are all 60 plus days into the quarantine or this or the lockdown, and students probably do have that in the mindset that okay, it's vacation time. Experience, well, yes, that's a very pertinent point, that that learning in the school itself is a great experience. And I think that schools can never go, they will stay. And teaching versus learning, I think another aspect which requires more thinking, collaboration, very pertinent point as far as the aspects of schools are concerned. So now I think if I have to summarize and bring it out in terms of how the government needs to respond, or how we all need to contribute, I think first and foremost, I think the question was, is it time to reopen the schools? I think that requires a rethink. Transformation, are we ready for the transformation? Have we already formulated the school reopening strategy? Because there are a host of activities which require to be done before we actually get the students into the school. Are we ready to adapt for the change? Then another aspect which is very important is around mapping the entire journey of a student or of a small little child, and I would call it the touch point strategy. Right? We have to see all the touch points that small little baby is going to go through, and how we are going to make sure that that little child is going to be safe. And that is the assurance that all the parents are looking at before they open the doors and make them sit into the bus and tell them okay, bye bye, and have a good day at your school. Right? Then the new normal says that we have to have a touchless environment. What are we doing about that? Are the schools geared up for embracing that kind of technology? And the point came up, do we have the funds? Well, very difficult questions to answer. Social distancing. We're talking about hybrid models because, again, if in a class we've got 50 students, now we will have to have just 25. So what happens to the other 25? The number of teachers remains the same. So I think this has been a great session, which has really poised a lot of thinking and rethinking, and also putting it across to the right people so that they make it part of their planning. I think it's been a great session. Thank you all for your valuable time, and of course, Ela, whose brainwave this is. Over to you.
It's all of us together, definitely. Thank you so much, everyone who participated here today. I'm sure it has helped all of us in one way or the other. This is really, really excellent. Thank you so much. And don't forget to.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much. I would like to add only one thing. Like, if can you hear me?
Yes,
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I would like to add one suggestion only. Though I'm working with the Royal Enfield somehow, but we have been doing all kind of. I am a technical trainer, so I've been working it out with our internal trainees right now. So we are using Zoom. So what I am doing is, I will tell you, I go for theory session, theory part, like how a motorcycle engine works or something like that, right? But what we will be doing in schools, a very valid question. So why don't we divide the batch of 50 students, 25 would go for a practical classes and 25 would attend for theory classes. Those 25 students would next day attend the practical classes, and the 25 students who attended the practical can go for the next theory classes. Number one. Number two, we shall not be in a very hurry and worry to call students less than 10 years of age to the schools right now, and we should not panic. Means the panic has set in a bit too much into ourselves. We should be sure that we are going to defeat this pandemic, and definitely we would be coming up with a lot of energy in some time to come, right? So if we talk more about pandemic as a panic now, students attitude to go out of the homes and be that brave to face this outer world would be a big question in itself. So first role of teachers, I would suppose will be to motivate students from within that, care for your hygiene, care for your health. So first workshop should be like that only. From there we can start off, and then we should take care of studies and everything, right? So let's make it a fun. Challenge can be turned up into the fun, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
So of course,
You have a very valid point that adversity should always be converted into an opportunity, and
opportunity.
go by Raymond's theme of sorry.
Can I
Yes,
say
please.
something?
Vidya ma'am.
Yeah, I didn't know, I couldn't see the speaker, but I really appreciate your.
Thank you so much. I'm a
Yeah, I really appreciate. I mean, this thing. I mean, my fellow speakers, Sukhmani, Raymond, and Sonam and Florina, I'm sure you'll agree that right now we are focusing on giving online classes to the higher classes. So what you said just now, we don't have that kind of technical learning happening in schools. We have just subjects. And then they have the 12th standard, and then they have a whole 4 year of engineering, and practically half of the students come out learning nothing. So this is a very good suggestion. Maybe companies like you should take it to schools and offer them this opportunity. Why didn't you send your students to our offices? We'll train them. Some technical training will give them.
Definitely, we will be doing that.
Yeah.
And in curriculum, now hygiene will be the first chapter. And you know what? When a school opens up for the very first time, be it 12th standard student, or maybe my daughter Savi is in KG somewhere, in KG or first standard she will be going. So we should educate them about hygiene only, and let's focus on first 15 days. Beta do this, beta do that. No studies at all. So make it a fun, and also through fun learning, we have to control their moods and emotions. Once they are used to coming to the school with new norms, with new normal, they would definitely follow our small instruction. Please wear the mask. Please follow the guidelines. First, we have to principally make them used to these new things, because in home, even as a parent, I cannot control so many things at one point of time, because child will definitely ask me to do anything. But in the school, there are set of norms that a child has to follow. In the first 15-20 days, maybe 1 month, we have to focus upon this new normal code that we need to follow. Don't worry at all. All of you have motivated us like anything. We should not worry at all what the future is there for the students. They will gel with the new things, definitely.
Yeah, I think.
Hello everyone. Good evening. I'm Daksha. I'm currently a student of 12th grade. Now, even I couldn't see the speaker, but I could hear the suggestion. He said that if there are 50 children or students in a class, the teacher can divide both of them, right? Like 25 one day can go for the theory classes, then 25 for the practical, right? But as Zoom also gives out this option of recording a class, right, or a meeting. So rather than repeating the same lessons again and again, what if we like record a class and like send it to the WhatsApp groups? Because if these students are elite enough to use Zoom, I'm sure they have WhatsApp as well. So you can record it and send it to WhatsApp rather than repeating the lessons again.
So here a point comes from a student straight from
that's really good. I think
there is live streaming. Daksha, if I can answer your question, and there is live streaming available for your all meetings in Teams, and so for is there, it is there for Zoom also. So you can easily revisit it. Very true. If you want to again refresh your concept.
Right. Thank you so much, everybody. Over here, we overshot our time by 20 minutes.
Yeah.
All the
Hera,
details.
can I just have 1 second of yours in relation to Daksha? I'm Delphina, and I'm
Yes, I
a professor for a nursing college actually, but I was wanting to know the point from a general schooling also, hence I joined. And in relation to Mr. Raymond and Daksha, whatever they said, I just wanted to know, would it not be a repetition for the teacher for repeating the same twice? Because if you're sending half students for practicals and half for teaching, I mean theory class, and again the teacher has to repeat for this 25. So would it be burdensome for the teacher to take the same topic twice?
Exactly my point. Exactly.
You are 100% true, but my worry was only to address the social distancing. Maybe we don't have enough rooms to address the masses of the students. So that's what the point was, to go for maintaining social distancing. That's what. We can work it out in so many ways.
I think it's been a great session and a great panel discussion, and thanks to the others who have now chipped in and put in their points. I think the closing comment should be the theme which came from Raymond is don't waste
A good
a good crisis.
It was really lovely.
Thank
Really
you, thank you so much, and have a great Sunday.
And
Thank you.
to find more details and a
Thank you,
report on
everyone.
today's meeting, you will find it on my Instagram handle of Maati the Boutique, MAATITHEBOUTIQUE. Do follow me over there. You'll find the details out there in some time. Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Yeah.
Thank you
Bye.
for this engaging
Bye.
and enriching session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.